The great palace of the Star Empire floated high above the planet's surface, shining like a diamond among the clouds. It was the pride of the alien world known as Renara, a place filled with strange lights, soft glowing walls, and long silver halls where machines hummed quietly day and night. The people of this world were tall, with light blue skin and gentle silver eyes. They lived with advanced machines that could heal, build, and think faster than any human invention. Yet now, the palace that once shined with life was silent, inside the royal medical wing. The alien princess Lorena lay on a floating bed made of energy. Her eyes were closed, her skin pale, and her breath weak. The room smelled of medicine and ozone. 20 alien doctors surrounded her, working in a rush. They wore silver suits and masks that covered their faces. Each of them moved with confidence, using strange tools and glowing screens filled with alien letters. But no matter how hard they worked, nothing changed. The princess's heartbeat slowed again and again. The alien king stood nearby. His tall form was shaking. His eyes were fixed on the machines that kept his daughter alive. He had ruled Renara for many years, leading his people through wars and storms. But now he felt powerless. His daughter was dying, and all their advanced science could not help her. Every doctor he trusted had failed. One of the doctors looked up from the glowing panel. "Your Majesty," she said softly, "her energy levels are falling again. We have tried every known method. Her body is rejecting the treatment." The king's voice broke. "Then find a new method. Do not stop until she breathes freely again." The doctor lowered her head. "We're trying, my king. But her cells no longer respond to our medicines. It is as if something inside her refuses to live." A low sound filled the air, like the hum of a dying engine. The machines around the princess blinked red, showing weak life signs. At that moment, far from the glowing room, a man pushed a cleaning cart down the corridor. He wore a simple gray uniform and carried a mop in one hand. His name was Tom. He was not from Renara. He was a human from Earth, one of the few allowed to work on the alien planet. He was a janitor in the palace, hired to clean the halls and fix simple maintenance problems. Tom was a quiet man. He did not speak much, and most of the aliens ignored him. To them, humans were new and strange, not as advanced, but interesting to watch. Tom did not mind their silence. He had come to Renara for one reason only, to earn money and send it back home for his little daughter, Mia. She was only 6 years old, a bright child with brown hair and eyes full of dreams. Every night before sleeping, Tom would look at her picture and whisper, "Daddy's working hard for you." That night, while cleaning the floor outside the medical wing, Tom heard strange sounds coming from inside the chamber. It was a pattern of beeps and soft mechanical clicks. He had worked around machines his whole life, back on Earth too, fixing small motors and air filters before he became a janitor. He could tell when something sounded wrong. And now, something sounded wrong. He paused, listening carefully. The rhythm of the beeps was uneven, almost like a heartbeat trying to match two different tempos. He frowned and tilted his head. The sound came from the air vent connected to the princess's chamber. Tom looked around. No one was nearby. He slowly pushed his cart closer to the door and peeked inside. Through the clear glass panel, he saw the alien doctors moving quickly around the glowing bed. The princess lay still, and the king stood motionless beside her. Tom did not understand their words, but he saw panic in their movements. He noticed the tubes running into the medical machine, one of which pulsed irregularly. He knew that pulse was connected to the air system. The air was not flowing properly, he whispered to himself. That filter's blocked. He knew that voice. It was the same thought he had back when his daughter had fallen sick one winter night on Earth. He had fixed the small air purifier in their home, and she had started breathing better. Now, he felt the same worry rise inside him. He knocked gently on the door. No one answered. He knocked again. Finally, a tall alien guard opened it. The guard's eyes glowed faintly in the light. "Human, this is no place for you," he said firmly. Tom looked up nervously. "I heard something strange from the vent. I think one of your filters might be blocked." The guard frowned. Our doctors do not need help from a janitor. Tom stepped back. I understand. But if the air system's not working right, it could make her worse. Before the guard could answer, one of the alien doctors turned her head. What did he say? He believes the air filter is blocked, the guard said. The doctor laughed softly. Our machines are beyond his understanding. Humans use simple air filters. Ours are based on plasma exchange. He cannot help us. The guard nodded and closed the door. Tom stood in the hallway, feeling small and helpless. He could not force them to listen. But the uneven hum of the machine still reached his ears. He sighed and leaned against his cart. His heart ached for the girl lying inside, for the father who stood helpless by her bed. He thought about his own daughter waiting for him back home. Minutes turned into hours. The corridor grew quiet. Most of the medical staff left the chamber for a meeting with the king. Only a few guards remained outside. Tom stayed nearby, pretending to clean the walls. He could not walk away. His instincts told him something bad was about to happen. When one of the guards stepped away for a moment, Tom saw his chance. He quietly moved closer to the side vent and opened the small access panel. Inside, a faint green light flickered weakly. He reached in and pulled out a handful of dark dust. It was sticky, almost alive. His eyes widened. The substance moved slightly in his hand. What in the world is this? He whispered. He quickly placed it in a waste bag and sealed it. Then he checked the air pipe again. The hum from the machine inside changed. It became smoother, more natural. Through the glass window, he saw the princess's chest rise more evenly. Her skin began to glow faintly again. Just then, a voice shouted, "What are you doing there, human?" Tom froze. The guard had returned. Two more appeared, grabbing his arms and pulling him away from the vent. He was touching the royal air system, one of them said. He may have caused harm. Tom struggled to speak. No, I was fixing it. The air filter was blocked. Please, check her machine. The guards ignored him. They dragged him down the hall. But before they could take him far, the sound of alarms stopped. The red lights in the medical wing turned green. A voice from inside shouted, "Her readings are rising. The princess is stabilizing." The guards stopped and looked back. Through the glass, the doctors rushed to the princess's side. Her eyes fluttered open slightly, and her skin shone with a soft golden light. The king stepped forward, his face full of hope. "What happened?" he asked the lead doctor. "We do not know," she said. The machine corrected itself. The airflow returned to normal. The king turned to look down the hall, where Tom stood between the guards. "Bring him here." "Ah!" Tom's heart pounded as he was led back into the room. The doctors watched in silence. The king faced him directly. "You touched the air vent," he said slowly. "Why?" Tom swallowed hard. "Because I heard something wrong in the machine. The air filter was blocked. I only cleaned it." The doctors exchanged confused looks. "That is impossible," one said. "Our filters are self-cleaning." Tom shrugged lightly. "Maybe it broke. It happens to machines on Earth too." The king studied him for a long time. Then he turned to the doctors. "Is she safe now?" "Yes, Your Majesty," one said softly. "Her body is recovering." The king looked back at Tom. "You may go. We will speak later." Tom nodded, still trembling, and walked out. The guards did not stop him this time. As he pushed his cleaning cart back down the long hallway, he felt both scared and proud. He had not meant to break rules. He had only wanted to help. In his heart, he thought of his daughter again and whispered, "Maybe doing the right thing is worth the risk." Behind him, the royal chamber filled with soft light again. The princess's breathing grew stronger, and the sound of the machines became calm and steady. The doctors could not explain how it happened. But one thing was clear the moment the human janitor touched the machine. Everything began to change. And somewhere deep inside the great palace of Renara, a story began that no one expected, a story of a simple man who listened, when others only looked at numbers. The next morning, the palace was alive again. The news had spread across the city of Renara that the princess had opened her eyes after many days of silence. The people rejoiced, and filled the streets with glowing ribbons of light. The alien king, though still cautious, allowed himself to feel hope for the first time in weeks. But inside the royal medical wing, confusion ruled among the doctors. The machines had returned to normal, yet no one understood why. They reviewed every log and every reading, but none showed any error. They found nothing to explain how the airflow had suddenly fixed itself, or how the princess's energy levels had risen. The head doctor, tall alien with blue marks on his forehead, looked at the others. Someone must have interfered with the system. The data shows a manual adjustment in the air vent, another doctor replied. That human janitor was near the vent before it changed. The guards caught him there. The head doctor frowned. A human caused this. Impossible. He must have damaged something by accident. It is pure luck that the system corrected itself. They nodded, unwilling to believe that a simple human could have done what 20 trained doctors could not, in another corner of the palace. Tom worked quietly in the cleaning room. He scrubbed the floors and checked his tools. His hands were rough from years of work, but his mind was calm. He thought about what had happened last night. He had only cleaned a blocked vent, yet it had changed everything. Still, he did not feel proud. He only hoped the princess was safe. His small communicator beeped. It was a message from the staff manager. Report to the Royal Council chamber, it said. Tom sighed. He knew what was coming. The aliens would question him again. He wiped his hands, fixed his uniform, and walked down the bright halls toward the council chamber. The palace was built like a maze of light and metal, with smooth floors that reflected every color of the sunrise. When he entered the chamber, several aliens sat around a round table that floated slightly above the floor. Their clothes shimmered in silver and gold. The king himself sat at the center. The princess's mother, the queen, sat beside him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Human, the king began, his deep voice filling the room. You were seen near the royal chamber last night. You touched the air system. Tell us exactly what you did. Tom bowed slightly. Your Majesty, I only cleaned the vent. I heard the machine making an uneven sound. It reminded me of a blocked air filter, so I removed the dust and checked the pipe. That is all. The queen leaned forward. You knew what to do just by hearing the sound? Tom nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. I have worked with machines on Earth for many years. They all make small sounds when something is wrong. It is easy to miss, but once you learn to listen, you can tell what they need. One of the alien doctors shook his head. Machines here are far beyond Earth technology. Your knowledge cannot apply to ours. Tom met his gaze calmly. Maybe. But air is air, and filters are filters, no matter where they come from. If it cannot breathe, nothing else works. The council members exchanged glances. The queen looked at her husband. He speaks with sense, she said softly. The king nodded slowly. Perhaps we should not dismiss him so quickly. The head doctor stepped forward. Your Majesty, even if the human fixed the air system, it cannot be the reason the princess recovered. Her sickness is in her blood, not her breath. The king looked at Tom again. Do you believe you saved her, human? Tom shook his head. No, sir. I believe I helped her breathe easier. Maybe that gave her body a chance to fight back. The king studied him in silence. He saw no pride in the man's eyes, only sincerity. Finally, he said, Very well. You may continue your work, but you will stay near the medical wing. If anything unusual happens again, you will be called. Tom bowed. Yes, Your Majesty. As he left the chamber, the queen whispered something to the king. The king nodded again, watching the human walk away. Later that day, Tom returned to his routine. He cleaned the corridors, fixed small leaks, and polished the silver floors. He worked carefully, as he always did. But every now and then, he stopped and listened. The palace was full of sounds machines, humming, lights buzzing, doors sliding open and shut. He had learned that every sound had meaning. Some told of health, some told of danger. By evening, the princess's condition began to change again. The doctors called it a relapse. Her energy levels dropped slightly. She started to breathe unevenly once more. The doctors rushed to her side, changing settings, adding more medicine, and scanning her body. The air was thick with tension. Tom heard the commotion from the hall. He put down his mop and stepped closer to the door. He saw the same red lights flashing as before. His heart sank. Something was still wrong. One of the guards saw him. "Human, stay back." Tom nodded but did not move far. He could hear the same strange hum again, the same uneven rhythm from before. It came from the floor vents this time, not the walls. He looked down and saw that one of the pipes was vibrating slightly. He took a small tool from his pocket and crouched beside the vent. He opened the small panel carefully. Warm air rushed out, carrying a faint metallic smell. He looked inside and saw small dark specks moving along the pipe like insects. "What are these?" he whispered. Before he could touch them, the head doctor shouted from inside the room, "Stop him. Do not let the human touch anything." 2 guards ran toward him, but the king raised his hand. "Wait," he commanded. "Let him speak." Tom stood and turned toward the king. "Sir, there is something inside your pipes. It looks alive. It might be blocking the air again." The head doctor frowned. "We have scanned the air system. There are no life forms detected." Tom pointed toward the vent. "Look for yourself." The king nodded to one of the guards. The guard bent down and shone a small light inside the pipe. He froze. "There are small black things crawling inside, Your Majesty." The doctors gasped. "That cannot be," one said. "The air system is sealed." The king's eyes narrowed. "Seal the room. Remove the vent and examine the substance." The guards obeyed. They removed the vent carefully and collected the moving specks in a small container. When the doctors scanned them, the results shocked everyone. The black particles were not dust or insects. They were small machines, smaller than sand grains. "They are parasites," the head doctor said in disbelief. "They have merged with our air systems. They drain life energy and transfer it to their core. They must have been feeding on the princess's breath." The king looked furious. "How could this happen in my own palace?" The doctor shook his head. "We do not know. These machines are not ours. They are foreign." Tom listened quietly. His heart beat fast. He had seen many kinds of dirt, but never something alive like that. He took a step forward. "Sir, maybe I can help remove them. I have tools for cleaning air vents." The doctors looked at him again, doubtful yet desperate. The king nodded slowly. "Let him try. None of our systems detected these parasites. Perhaps human tools will work differently." Tom went to work at once. He used his manual tools, simple things from earth brushes, filters, and small suction tubes. He cleaned the air pipes section by section while the guards watched. It took hours, but he worked patiently. The black parasites clung to the metal, resisting removal. But one by one he pulled them out and sealed them in containers. When the last section was clean, he rechecked the airflow. The hum became smooth again, like a steady heartbeat. Inside the chamber, the red lights turned to green. The doctors checked the princess's readings. Her breathing stabilized again. The faint glow of life returned to her skin. The king watched in silence, then looked at Tom. "You have done what our best minds could not," he said. "You found the cause and fixed it." Tom wiped his hands and smiled shyly. "I only listened, sir. Machines always try to tell us what they need. We just have to hear them." The queen stepped forward. "You have saved her twice now. Tell us, human, what drives you to act when others stay silent?" Tom looked down for a moment. "Because I know what it feels like to be helpless, Your Majesty. When my daughter was sick, I could not rest until I helped her breathe again. I hear the same sound of pain in this room, and I cannot walk away." The room fell silent. Even the doctors who had mocked him earlier lowered their eyes. The king said softly, "Perhaps knowledge is not enough. Perhaps heart is what makes one see what others cannot." Tom bowed his head. "Sometimes small things matter most, sir." That night, as the palace lights dimmed, Tom returned to his quarters. He looked at the picture of his daughter again and smiled. He felt proud but humble. Somewhere in this strange alien world, he had done something good, not for fame or money, But because it was right, far above the city, the alien stars shone brightly. The people of Renara celebrated their princess's recovery. Unaware that a simple human janitor had played the greatest part in saving her, and deep in the royal lab, the black parasites sat locked inside glass containers, waiting to be studied. None of the doctors knew where they had come from, but one thing was clear. Something far darker than disease had entered their world. The quiet human had seen it first, and this was only the beginning of his strange connection with the alien princess and the fate of the Star Empire. The palace of Renara was unusually quiet the morning after the princess's second recovery. The glow from the tall towers shone brightly across the city, reflecting off the crystal streets below. Birds with silver feathers circled in the sky, and the people celebrated the health of their princess. But inside the royal medical wing, tension still lingered. The 20 alien doctors had gathered again. Their faces were serious, their glowing eyes reflecting worry. They could not understand how a human janitor had identified the problem no one else saw. Some were angry, some were confused. All were determined to prove that the human could not do it again. The head doctor spoke first. "Your Majesty, we must monitor the princess closely. There is no guarantee that her recovery is permanent. These parasites are unique and dangerous. We need advanced treatment immediately." The king nodded, but glanced toward the corridor. "In the human janitor?" he asked. "He remains in his quarters." "Shall we summon him?" asked one of the doctors. The king shook his head. "No, let him be. If the princess needs him, we will know." Tom, the human janitor, was in his small quarters near the service corridors. He had cleaned and polished the floors earlier and was now repairing some old air valves that had squeaked all morning. He enjoyed this work because it reminded him of Earth. On his wall was a picture of his daughter, Mia, smiling and holding a small toy spaceship. Tom whispered to the picture, "I hope you are proud, Mia. I am doing my best here." Suddenly, the lights in the palace flickered. Tom froze. He had seen this before. The air pressure in the corridors changed slightly. He could hear the faint hum of a machine, out of rhythm, deeper than the normal palace sounds. He rushed to the medical wing. He walked fast, but quietly, blending with the few servants moving in the halls. When he reached the chamber, he noticed that the guards outside were uneasy. The red alarm lights blinked again. Inside, the princess's bed floated slightly, her breathing shallow and uneven. Machines beeped faster than before. The doctors rushed to adjust the settings, but nothing worked. They changed the plasma flow, recalibrated the energy beams, and scanned her body repeatedly. Yet the readings did not improve. The head doctor's voice was sharp. "The parasite influence is returning. We must remove it completely," another doctor argued. "We cannot reach the parasites. They are too small and embedded deep in the system." Tom watched from the shadows. He could see the tiny black machines moving inside the transparent tubes connected to the bed. The devices were small, almost invisible, but their effect was clear. The princess's life depended on clearing them. The doctors did not notice that one tube was vibrating differently. Tom leaned closer. He could hear a faint click, click, click pattern. It was irregular but rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat trying to match another heartbeat. He recognized the pattern immediately. They are feeding on her energy again. He whispered to himself. One of the guards noticed him. "Human, stay away." Tom ignored him. He stepped closer. He knew that if he waited for permission, it could be too late. His instincts were the only thing he could rely on. He examined the tubes. The black machines were deep inside, clinging to the walls of the conduit. Using his small tools, he carefully loosened the particles. The machines resisted, but Tom had patience. He worked slowly, cleaning each section and collecting the parasites in small containers. The head doctor noticed movement in the vent. "Stop him. He is tampering with the system." Tom did not stop. "He is dying because of these machines. I can remove them." The king's voice boomed from the chamber. "Let him do it. He has saved her before. Perhaps his method is what is needed now." The doctors stared in disbelief. They could not understand how a human could achieve what they had failed to do. But the king's order gave Tom courage. He focused entirely on the pipes, feeling the flow of air and the vibrations in the tubes. He worked carefully, removing each parasite without breaking the delicate machinery around them. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat ran down his forehead, and his hands ached, but he continued. His mind remembered the nights back on Earth when his daughter had been sick. He had stayed awake, fixing machines and caring for her until she breathed easily again. He thought of Mia and her small hands reaching for him. That memory gave him strength. Finally, he reached the last section. He pulled out the last of the black machines and sealed them in a container. The tubes hummed steadily, the air flowing smoothly. The machines around the princess slowed their alarm beeps and returned to green lights. The doctors rushed to her side. Her chest rose evenly. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. A soft, golden glow returned to her skin. She gasped, then smiled faintly. The king stepped forward. "She lives," he said quietly. "Because of you." Tom wiped his hands and looked at the princess. "She is safe now," he said simply. The head doctor approached him. "Human, explain again how you knew what to do. Machines like these are far beyond human understanding." Tom shook his head. "I only listen to them. I hear the sound of something wrong and fix it. That is all." The queen stepped closer, smiling. "You have a gift, human. You see what others ignore." The princess looked at Tom and whispered, "Thank you. You saved me again." "Who are you?" "I am just a janitor, princess," Tom replied softly. "I try to help." The princess reached out her hand, and Tom bowed slightly. The doctors watched silently, humbled by what had just occurred. The king nodded. "From now on, this human will remain near the medical wing. If anything threatens the princess, he will be called." Tom hesitated. "I do not want power, Your Majesty. I just want to do my work and return to my daughter." The king smiled. "Sometimes doing the right thing is more important than power. You will remain here, yes, but only to protect her when needed." That evening, Tom returned to his quarters. He cleaned and organized quietly, trying to think about anything other than the strange machines and glowing princess. He missed his daughter terribly, but he also felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. As he lay down to rest, a small communicator beeped. It was a message from the princess herself. "Human janitor," it read. "I wish to meet you tomorrow. I have questions about you and your world. I wish to know more." Dom smiled. He held the message carefully. "She wants to know about us," he whispered. "Maybe one day she can understand humans too." The palace lights dimmed, but Tom could still hear the soft hum of machines, steady and calm. He knew that peace had returned, at least for now, and that the life of the alien princess had been saved not by advanced machines alone, but by human care, observation, and patience. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of the palace, Tom whispered to himself, "I hope my daughter knows that humans can do great things, even on distant worlds." The morning sun cast a soft glow over the palace towers. Light reflected off the crystal streets of Renara, creating colors like rainbow streams across the city. The people of the empire celebrated the princess's recovery once again. Yet inside the royal palace, tension remained. The doctors were still puzzled by what had happened. No machine, no medicine, no complex calculation had been able to restore the princess. Only the human janitor, Tom, had succeeded. The Princess Lorena lay awake in her chamber, her breathing steady and her glow strong. She had been watching the human quietly for days. His calm movements, the way he listened to machines, and the care in his eyes fascinated her. She had never met a human before. She wanted to understand how someone so simple could achieve what 20 brilliant alien doctors could not. Finally, the princess requested to see him. The king approved. "Bring the human janitor here," he commanded. The guards hesitated but obeyed. Tom, busy cleaning the corridor, was startled when they called his name. "Your Majesty requires your presence," one said respectfully. Tom nodded and followed quietly, pushing his cleaning cart. He felt nervous but calm. He had been a janitor all his life, but now He was about to meet a princess. He did not know what to say. When he entered the chamber, the princess sat upright on her bed, smiling softly. Her skin glowed faintly with a golden light. Her silver eyes focused on him. "Human," she said softly, "please come closer." Tom bowed slightly. "Princess, I am honored to be here," he replied. Lorena studied him for a moment. "You saved me twice now. How did you know what to do when my best doctors could not?" Tom paused, thinking carefully. "I only listened. Machines make small sounds when something is wrong. I noticed the rhythm of your life support was off. I fixed it. That is all I did." The princess tilted her head, curious. "But it was more than that. My life depends on those machines. You knew what to do with things you had never seen before." Tom shook his head. "I do not know. I just did what felt right. I could not watch you struggle and do nothing." Lorena smiled. She looked at the 20 alien doctors standing behind her, all silently observing. "This human shows something more than knowledge. He shows care. None of you noticed what I needed." He did. The head doctor stepped forward, his expression serious. "Princess, we are trained to study and repair machines. This human is not trained in alien technology. He acted by instinct." "Yes," the princess replied softly, "and instincts can sometimes see what knowledge misses." The king, watching quietly, nodded in agreement. "Perhaps we have underestimated the human mind. Perhaps simple observation and heart can surpass complexity." Tom looked at the princess and said, "Your Majesty, I do not want glory. I only want to help. I have a daughter back home, and I do my best for her. That is why I help anyone who is in danger." The princess's eyes softened. "A daughter," she repeated. "I understand. You care for your child, as I care for my people. Perhaps that is why you could save me." The queen, standing beside the king, nodded. "Sometimes heart and attention matter more than all our science combined." The doctors exchanged glances, humbled by the human's simple words. Some looked embarrassed, realizing they had been too proud of their knowledge. Later that day, Tom was asked to examine the entire air and life support system. The king wanted to ensure no other parasites or foreign machines remained. Tom moved slowly and carefully, opening vents, checking pipes, and listening to each machine's hum. He worked meticulously, cleaning small sections at a time. He noticed small irregularities the doctors had overlooked. Tiny scratches in the conduits and faint vibrations in some tubes. "These machines are very old in parts," Tom explained. "Some of the parasites may have entered through tiny cracks. I am sealing all possible entries now." Doctors watched in amazement. Tom's knowledge of simple machines and airflow allowed him to see details that their advanced scanners missed. Within hours, the system was fully inspected and fully clean. The princess sat on her bed, observing him. She could feel the rhythm of life around her returning to normal. She said, "Human, I want to understand your world. You do not need complex machines to think clearly. You notice what matters." Tom smiled. "It is not machines or knowledge, princess. It is patience, attention, and caring for life. That is all." The princess thought about her own doctors and the palace scientists. Perhaps we rely too much on our tools. Perhaps we forget that life can teach us lessons in simple ways. As the day turned to evening, the king invited Tom to a private meeting. "Human, you have saved my daughter's life. For that, I am grateful. Tell me, what do you want in return?" Tom shook his head. "Nothing, Your Majesty. I only wish to return to my work and my daughter. That is reward enough." The king studied him for a long moment. "You have great courage and wisdom for a simple man. Perhaps there is a place for humans in our empire beyond cleaning and repairs. Perhaps your kind can teach us more than we know." Tom bowed. "I am only a janitor, Your Majesty. I do what I can." The princess spoke softly. "Human, I have learned something important from you. That even a small person, who others overlook, can do great things. I will remember that forever." For the next few days, Tom continued his work. He cleaned the palace, maintained machines, and monitored the life support system. He moved quietly among the doctors, showing them small corrections, simple fixes, and adjustments. Some of the doctors began to learn from him, quietly admiring his careful attention. The princess often watched him. She asked questions about his life on Earth, about his daughter, and about the small machines he had used to fix problems. She realized that his understanding of life and attention to detail was a skill no machine could teach. One evening, the princess asked Tom, "Would you meet my daughter if she were here?" Tom smiled at the thought. "I would be honored, princess," Lorena smiled softly. "Then I wish to invite her someday. I want her to see the human who saved me." Tom's heart warmed at the thought of sharing this moment with Mia, even far from Earth. He felt that his small actions had created something larger than himself. The king observed the growing respect between the human and the princess. He said quietly to the queen, "Perhaps humanity has qualities we have never seen before. Perhaps their simple care can teach us more than all our technology." The queen nodded. The human shows courage, patience, and love, qualities we often forget in our pursuit of perfection. Meanwhile, the alien doctors began to approach Tom with questions, not to challenge him, but to learn. They asked about airflow, small mechanical adjustments, and how to notice vibrations and sounds. Tom explained each carefully, demonstrating simple tools and techniques. Slowly, the doctors began to understand. They realized that no amount of advanced technology could replace careful observation and caring attention. The princess spoke one evening. "Human, you have shown me a lesson. Even the smallest person can change the fate of an empire. I will remember this story and tell others. You have given me a second chance at life." Tom smiled shyly. "I did what anyone would do, princess. I just could not ignore the problem." The princess's glow brightened, and she whispered, "Sometimes the simplest actions are the most powerful. That is a truth even we cannot measure." The king stood nearby, watching silently. He knew that humans were different from any life form he had known. They relied on heart, courage, and observation rather than advanced calculations alone. Perhaps that was why Tom had succeeded where 20 doctors had failed. Tom returned to his quarters that night. He cleaned his small space carefully and looked at the picture of his daughter. He whispered, "Mia, sometimes humans can do great things even far from home. I hope you will always remember that." Above the palace, stars glimmered. The empire of Renara rested in peace, thanks to a human who had listened when others ignored, who had acted when others hesitated, and who had shown that care and observation could overcome even the most advanced technology. And somewhere, deep in the palace, a princess smiled, grateful not only for her life, but also for the lesson that greatness could come from the humblest of places. The morning sun rose over the silver towers of the Valora Palace. Light spilled through tall windows, painting the halls in shades of gold and white. Birds with rainbow feathers circled outside, their songs echoing through the open courtyards. Inside, the palace was unusually quiet. Not because it was empty, but because everyone waited, holding their breath for a moment that felt important and delicate. In the grand room of the princess, Lyrae stirred. Her eyelids moved slowly, and the softest sound of a breath came from her lips. Tom, the human janitor and single father, stood by her bedside, holding Mia's hand. Mia's small fingers curled around his, her eyes wide with hope. She had grown close to Lyrae over the past days, speaking softly to her, telling her stories about Earth, about rivers, flowers, and the small adventures they had together. Tom had smiled at this. He understood the power of care and patience. The 20 alien doctors who had failed to heal Lyrae were gathered in the room, their faces showing a mixture of astonishment and curiosity. Some of them had never seen a human work with such calm confidence. Others had never realized how much observation and empathy could matter when science alone was not enough. They whispered among themselves, their voices low and respectful. Finally, Lyrae's eyes opened fully. They were large and glowing with a soft amber light, full of life. She blinked once, then twice, finally turned her gaze toward Tom and Mia. A faint smile formed on her lips. "Tom," she said softly, her voice weak but clear, "thank you for helping me." Tom knelt down slightly, careful not to overwhelm her. "You are very strong, princess," he said kindly. "You fought hard, and now your body is ready to rest and recover." Mia giggled quietly, her excitement restrained but glowing on her small face. "I told you stories from Earth, princess. I thought you might like them." Lorraine's eyes brightened. "I liked them very much. They made me feel happy." Her voice grew steadier as she spoke, and the room felt lighter. The alien king, standing nearby, stepped forward. His face was still marked with worry from the past days, but pride shone in his eyes. "Tom," he said, his voice deep and commanding, "you have done what 20 of our finest doctors could not. You have saved my daughter. Your wisdom and care have brought life back to her. How can I ever repay you?" Tom shook his head humbly. "I only did what any father would do. I only used what I know about caring for someone you love. That is all." The king studied him closely. "Your humility is remarkable, human. But know this, your actions have changed more than just my daughter's life. You have changed the way we see humans." The alien doctors, previously skeptical, stepped forward one by one. Their eyes no longer held doubt or arrogance. They bowed slightly, acknowledging the human who had taught them something beyond science. We see now that healing is not only about medicines and machines," said one elder doctor, her voice steady but filled with respect. "It is also about understanding, about listening and noticing what others do not see. Your actions have taught us humility." "I am glad I could help. That is enough for me," the king smiled, his eyes glistening with gratitude. "You will not leave this palace, Tom. I want you to stay as an advisor, someone who teaches us to understand humans better. Your presence here is valuable." Tom looked at Mia, who was bouncing with excitement. "Mia, what do you think?" he asked softly. Mia's eyes sparkled. "I want to stay, Daddy. I want to help the princess and be with Lorraine." The king's voice grew warm and welcoming. "Then it is settled. You and your daughter shall remain here. The palace shall be your home, and you will guide us in understanding humanity and compassion." For the first time in weeks, the palace felt alive with joy. Lorraine sat up slowly, supported by gentle cushions. Her energy was returning, her strength growing with every breath. Tom helped her drink some water, and Mia passed her a small plate of fresh fruit. Lorraine's eyes lit up as she tasted the sweet flavors. "You brought these, didn't you, Tom?" Lorraine asked. "Yes, princess." "Fresh fruit and clean water. They help your body recover," Tom said simply. The 20 doctors watched in awe. Their advanced instruments had failed to heal her, but simple care and attention from a human succeeded. It was a lesson they would not forget. Later, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, Lorraine asked Tom to walk with her in the palace gardens. Tom nodded and helped her stand. Her steps were unsteady at first, but with Mia holding her hand on the other side, she moved carefully along the stone paths. The gardens were alive with alien flowers glowing softly under the sunlight, and streams of clear water ran gently between smooth stones. Lorraine looked around and smiled. "This is beautiful. Thank you, Tom, for showing me Earth stories and helping me heal. I feel alive again." Tom looked at her and said, "You are always alive inside, princess. I only helped you see it again." Mia giggled. "You are like family now, princess." "Yes," Lorraine said, smiling warmly. "I feel like I have a human family here with me. I will never forget this." As the days passed, Tom continued his work. He did not interfere with the alien medical techniques, but he observed, guided, and added simple methods to help the princess recover fully. He encouraged the doctors to notice small changes, to adjust their approaches based on what they saw in her reactions, and to listen to their patient, even if she could not speak fully. Slowly, Lorraine regained strength, walking longer distances, eating fully, and laughing with Mia. The palace staff, once wary of a human janitor, now treated Tom with respect. They watched as he moved through the halls, cleaning and guiding with care. And they understood that his heart was as important as any machine or medicine. One evening, as the three of them, Tom, Mia, and Lorraine, sat in the palace garden, the king approached with a gentle smile. "Princess Lorraine," he said. "You are strong again. This is thanks to the human and his daughter. Tom, your actions have taught us that true strength comes not only from knowledge, but from care, patience, and heart." Tom nodded. "I only did what I could. Love and attention can heal in ways science cannot always reach." The king's eyes softened. "From this day forward, humans shall be honored on Valora. They shall not only serve, but teach us, guide us, and remind us of the power of heart. You, Tom, are the first example of this. You have changed our world." Tom looked at Lee and Mia. They were smiling, laughing softly under the alien sun. He felt warmth in his heart, the same warmth he had always felt for his daughter. "I never wanted to change the world," he said quietly. "I only wanted to help a child who needed care." But in truth, his small acts of observation, empathy, and care had changed everything. Not only had he saved a princess, but he had also taught an entire planet the value of human compassion. In the following weeks, Lee grew stronger, her laughter ringing through the palace halls. Mia spent her days with her, telling stories of Earth, drawing pictures, and playing games. The palace staff began learning from Tom and Mia, adopting their simple ways of understanding and caring for others. The 20 alien doctors continued their research, but they did so with a new mindset. They incorporated observation, empathy, and gentle care into their techniques. They realized that even the most advanced technology could not replace attention to the heart and mind. One day, as the palace celebrated Lee's full recovery, the king addressed the crowd. "Let this day be remembered," he said, "as the day humans taught us that care, love, and understanding can heal where even science struggles. Let this day be the start of a new era for Valora, where humans and aliens learn from each other." The crowd cheered, and Tom held Mia's hand, smiling quietly. Lee waved at them, her eyes full of gratitude. The princess, who had been near death, was now full of life, laughter, and hope. Tom's simple actions, his careful observation, and his patient heart had not only saved a life, but had transformed a world. From that day on, humans were no longer seen as workers or outsiders. They were valued as teachers, guides, and friends. And in the palace of Valora, human Janitor and his daughter found a home, a purpose, and a place in history. The princess, the king, and the entire planet would never forget the day a human heart showed them what true strength really meant. Tom looked at Lee and Mia, his heart full. "We did it together," he said. Mia nodded, hugging her father's leg. Lee smiled at both of them, her voice clear and full of life. "Together, we are stronger. Together, we can do anything." And with that, the palace of Valora was filled with hope, laughter, and the shining truth that even the simplest acts of care could change the universe forever.